Hi and welcome to May's video blog. Today what I'd like to talk to you about is people who use deflective behaviours. By that I mean people who will, instead of connecting with their emotional pain and the things that are going wrong in their life, may turn to shopping, may turn to drink, may turn to drugs, may turn to sex, may turn to all sorts of things in order to deflect or think about the process that they are currently experiencing. This is a normal thing for most human beings in a greater or lesser degree. We all do things rather than go through processes that are painful. And when we're using deflective behaviours, it can be really hard for people to connect with us. It can be really hard for them to understand what it is we're going through and the reasoning for it. Deflective behaviours will be noticeable in a sense that they will be common. So you will usually resort to one, main one. You might have another couple of minor ones if you can't do the main one, but there will be some aspect of addictive processes to this. The other thing that will be noticeable is that whatever they're doing, it won't make them happy. So if you found somebody who used shopping, for example, as a process, deflective process, then when they bought whatever they bought, they would usually put it in a cupboard or hang it up and never wear it or never use it, and it would just be left in its packaging. Or they may wear it once and not like it, and they would just then keep it in the wardrobe. They wouldn't necessarily return it. And we all use that, males and females. Sometimes you'll find males who have to have the latest techie thing, but then won't be happy with it, won't use it, and will just wait for the next techie thing. It might be clothes, it might be food. We might go into eating more, or snacking more, or doing some of the excessive processes of food. We might take a drink, as I've said, or drugs, or even sex can be used as a way of deflection. Whatever it is you use, and if it's a deflective process, won't give you the stimulation and the contentment that it should have done by doing it. People get into a lot of debt, not necessarily because they want to be in debt, but they may use that spending process as a way of trying to make other people happy, because they want to see their needs more than their own needs. They may use it as a self-inflicted harm process, in a sense that when it spirals out of control, then basically their life gets really strung out because they can't pay for it. And debt is one that unfortunately a lot of people have to go through. There are numbers of organisations, if somebody is getting into debt, that you can connect with in order to help you sort the debt out. It's really, really good that if you find yourself using a deflective behaviour process in your life, that you have some way of trying to connect with it and understand it and move forward with it. As you kind of see why you're doing that process in the first place, then you may get an understanding of the origin of it, obviously, but then you may be able to work with it in a different way. It's really good that our fears, our emotional fears, we do talk about, which is why counselling helps most people. Not because we are wonderful people who know everything and are very wise or very well-heeled. It's that we can be objective in the process. We're not involved in your life, we're not involved in the things that are going wrong. We keep confidentiality as long as somebody's not being harmed. And so everything you say to us is basically said and stays in the room. So it's safe with us to talk about these kind of processes, where it might not be safe to talk about people who are close to you. And there's all sorts of reasons for using deflective behaviours, many, many and varied, which would be too numerous to go through even an hour or 2 hours of video work. But suffice to say, anything that's a deflective behaviour, as I've said, would be something that you wouldn't find comfort from or contentment from once you'd actually done it. Some people can see OCD in this way, not always. I do see that OCD has its own processes, but sometimes the deflective behaviours we use can turn into a form of OCD. And so it's really good that you could get help at the beginning with this process and not at the end, because once human beings become habit-forming behaviours, then it's much easier to get into them, much harder to get out of them. So as you're working your way towards summer, and hopefully having a good summer, then maybe you can have a look at your own behaviours and see if any of them do fall into this category. And then maybe you could have a look and see whether or not you could change them if you're not happy with them, or modify them if you have to have them, but modify them in a way that is not destructive but can be constructive. More of this you'll find in the website throughout the pages, and some ways of looking at it in different ways and some ways of working with it. So hopefully those will make sense to you. But whatever you do, have the life you want, not the one you think you should have or the one you're forced to have. Make choice. Subconscious processes, by the very nature of subconscious, they're reactions. We don't understand them sometimes. But if we do an awareness process, then we bring them to conscious thought. Then we can do something with them. Then we can make that process work in a different way. So as you're working through the aspects of deflective behaviours, just remember to treat yourself gently, and that what you're doing is not bad. It's just a way of being that you feel as though nobody's listening and you feel as though somebody should be. Get help with it, because they don't tend to get better on their own. You tend to have to do something with it to make it change.